Okay, at least the sound is good, but like, why is the video quality bad? What are we doing? We've got to get started. So, we have 15 pages left, or 19, whatever it was. I don't remember. Let's go ahead and get started. So, chapter 96, Legend of the Bat Queen. Morsi's head whipped around. With his handsomely chiseled face and profile, he stared at them with an interrogative air. Jiang Yeshue's warm almond eyes were wide with shock. Mu Zhongchuyi's expression darkened, and he squeezed a sentence between clenched teeth. You caught me cultivating. Sorry. It's already funny. Okay, so, all right, if you say so. It's not like you would have forgotten the circumstances. I know you wanted me to hide your illness from the rest of the Yue clan, but the truth is, young Yue Gongzi already learned it out long ago. Mu Zhongchuyi said nothing. He was looking for treatment for you, to help you, but since you always hid it from him, he had only a rough idea of what to do and didn't know how to proceed. His sole option was to collect and comb through all sorts of texts on medical cultivation. And how do you know so much about it? Mu Zhongchuyi asked. This time, it was Jiang Yeshue who sighed before Gumang could answer. Yue Chengqing's interest in medical texts is no secret. If you showed a little more concern for him, you would know this too. Oh, he just called him out. Mu Zhongchuyi seemed extremely dissatisfied with Jiang Yeshue's words. His eyes narrowed dangerously. Gumang sighed. So you see, even though Mu Zhongshan took pains to hide his ailment, young Yue Gongzi's care for you is such that he must have noticed long ago. After a moment of silence, Mu Zhongchuyi turned aside. He's little more than a child. Why should I let him meddle in my business? You're not wrong, Gumang said, but even a blind man could see the reverence young Yue Gongzi holds for Mu Zhongxiong. Even if you want him to stand back and do nothing, it's impossible for him. He's not a healer, but he wants more than anything to find some sort of miracle cure for your illness. After a pause, he continued. Let's return to the matter at hand. There are countless legends of miracle cures in the 9 provinces. Fruits from the Flame Emperor's sacred tree, the tears of the Xiangfei Empress, indigo woad root watered with the sweet dew from Guanyin's sacred bottle. One second, because this is WOAD, and I don't think I've ever heard of that before. WOAD. How are we pronouncing this? Is it woad?
Woad.
Yeah, woad. It's a yellow-flowered European plant of the cabbage family. It was formerly grown as a source of blue dye, which was extracted from the leaves after they had been dried, powdered, and fermented. Okay, cool. And I guess just in case y'all need a photo, here's a photo. Or you can look it up, WOAD, because it's too bright from my phone. Oh my God. Okay, anyway, I'm going to read that again. So, there are countless legends of miracle cures in the 9 provinces. Fruits from the Flame Emperor's sacred tree, the tears of the Xiangfei Empress, indigo woad root watered with the sweet dew from Guanyin's sacred bottle. Mu Zhongchuyi said nothing. But these are fairy tales. All of these legends, the only one with credible records within the past few centuries is the Xueling pill of the Dream Butterfly Islands. Xueling pill. Why have I never heard of such a thing? Mu Zhongchuyi countered. Because it's not orthodox medicine. There aren't many who know about it in Chonghua. However, were you to flip through any of the Liao Kingdom's ancient texts, for example, the copy of Compendium of Plants, Demonic and Divine, Shi Hejuan lent to the Cultivation Academy some days back, you would find it mentioned. Wait a minute, Mu Zhongchuyi cut in. What is it? Mu Zhongchuyi narrowed his eyes. You seem very knowledgeable about the Liao Kingdom's records. Heart pounding, Gumang's face paled. As Mu Zhongchuyi stared at him, his voice took on a predatory edge. But as I recall, you've forgotten everything from the 5 years you defected. Silence fell. Was it a lie? Oh, God. So, Jiang Yeshui hadn't noticed, and Muxi's thoughts were in turmoil, but this statement instantly alerted them to something extremely obvious. Yes, Gumang had indeed said he couldn't remember anything about the Liao kingdom. So why then had he mentioned the Liao kingdom's records just now, and the Liao kingdom's spells earlier? Sure enough, this traitor was still hiding the truth from them. See, when you talk too much, you give yourself away. The atmosphere that had eased became strained again, the pressure in the air like a silk bowstring braced against flesh. Why did you lie? Mujong Chuyi's gaze was as vicious as a cheetah's. The words that left his pale, thin lips were laced with murderous intent. Speak up. Even Zhong could see that something was amiss. She stopped with her handful of fire suspended in midair, unsure if she should still be eating. Gumang took in Jiang Yeshue's frown, then Muzhong Chuyi's glare, and finally Mo face. Mo stood at the mouth of the cave, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, his expression inscrutable. But Gumang could see he was silently watching him from afar, waiting for his answer. For a moment, Gumang was still, because I don't want to be dragged into anyone's black magic experiments. He glanced away indifferently, his fluttering lashes concealing all the mysteries within his eyes. If you guys knew I still remembered so many things about the Liao Kingdom's black magic techniques, would you have agreed to keep my secrets so readily? Oops, I definitely skipped a page. Okay. Muzhong Chuyi said nothing. But I really didn't lie to you. I only remember disjointed fragments from those 5 years in the Liao Kingdom. He paused. If you don't believe me, I swear an oath here and now. He raised a hand and solemnly said, If I, Gumang, speak a single false word, let me live and die alone, shunned by men and women alike, while the person I love marries and finds happiness with someone else. Okay. It might have been a trick of the light. As Gumang said these words, Morsi seemed to see a faint gentleness come over his expression, as though he wasn't swearing an oath, but rather sorrowfully yet tenderly giving his blessing. Let me die of jealousy. In the end, the softness disappeared, and too the sorrow. When Gumang looked up, his eyes gleamed anew with cheerful light. How about that? You gotta believe me now, right? Not just going from taking such an oath and then be like, hey, so is that good? What are we doing here? Yes, that oath is rather strong, and it admits that he loves someone. So anyway, Jiang Yeshui sighed and shook his head helplessly. Muzhong Chuyi looked as if he didn't believe a word of it, but neither did he want to waste more breath on Gumang. Moshi knew without a sliver of doubt that Gumang was still hiding something, but given Gumang's temperament, no one would have a single true word from him if he didn't wish to speak it, even if they pried his lips apart with a knife. In the face of their silence, Gumang spread his hands. Now, are you three beauties willing to hear about the notes in the Liao Kingdom's ancient texts? Muzhong Chuyi was silent for a while. Proceed. You won't regret it. Sirs, if you have coin to spare, spare it. If you have none, lend your ears. This storyteller will spin you a tale. Silence. Gumang, why? Um, Kylie says, while Gumang is right, he's also wrong. But that oath, I'm wondering how much he actually remembers. Me too. Gumang cleared his throat. It's like this. Legend has it that hundreds of years ago, the mother of a low-level Liao Kingdom cultivator was stricken by foul disease. The cultivator sought doctors throughout the land, but none could cure his mother's illness. One day, he heard of an immortal island carried through the sea on the shell of Xuanwu. All seasons were mild as spring on that island, and it was home to a wise immortal. The cultivator gathered his last strands of hope and boarded a ship for this legendary isle, along with his mother. The weather on the sea was changeable, and one night, a wild storm rose from the ocean. The oars of their ship were depleted of spiritual energy, and they drifted aimlessly on the waves for 3 days and 3 nights. To keep the boat afloat, the little cultivator expended almost all his energy, fainting from exhaustion. When he woke, he discovered that he had arrived on an island populated with thousands of bat demons. This island, Jiang Yeshui muttered. Yes, Gumang said. It's written in some of the more obscure records of the Liao kingdom that when this little cultivator reached the demon island, he was certain they were doomed. Yet, to his surprise, the demons on the island did not devour him immediately. Instead, they escorted him to the island's bat queen. Wu Yan? Quite possibly, yes. Then what happened? Then, the records differ on what happened next. Some describe Wu Yan as a peerless beauty with a heart of gold and claim that she bestowed a shrilling pill upon the little cultivator's mother. After the declining lady took the medicine, she recovered to full health within the time it took to burn a stick of incense. Not only that, but so effective was this medicine that the aged matron regained her youth and resumed her radiant appearance from decades ago. They thanked Wu Yan for her grace 1,000 times over, and mother and son happily returned home. Jiang Yeshui nodded. And what do the other records say? The others are all a bit wild. I'll pick some of the slightly more promising ones to recount. In other legends, Wu Yan was a wrinkled, white haired hag who had never laid eyes on a man in her life. Thus, she presented some terms to the little cultivator. She really did have a shrilling pill made of fresh blood that she would furnish his mother to cure her sickness, but in exchange, the little cultivator must stay on the island as her obedient little toy. Muzhong Chuyi and Jiang Yeshui stared at him in silence. How about that? Isn't it disgusting? Gumang said. But in the end, whatever the truth, the fact is that there are more than a few records of the shrilling pill on Bat Island. So you're saying Yue Chengqing came here for this pill? Jiang Yeshui said incredulously. Most likely, replied Gumang. A few days before young Yuegongzi left for the Dream Butterfly Islands, I heard that he was looking to borrow a Liao Kingdom book of herbal medicines. Once I made the connection, I thought it prudent to take a look in Wu Yan's pill refining room. Perhaps I could find some clues. He glanced at Zhongrong and found them I have. So the shrilling pill is medicine refined from Miss Rong's blood? Asked Muzhong Chuyi. Gumang nodded. That's right. Jiang Yeshui sighed. How awful. Right. This Bat Queen is quite the shady character. I'm more inclined to believe the second legend about the little cultivator. Wu Yan doesn't seem the type to give out medicine after hearing a pretty story. If you ask me, she definitely demand a commensurate price. Okay, so just stopping really quick. Basically, yes, the reason why they have come to this Bat Island is all because of Muzhong Chuyi. I mean, it's really just because of Yue Changqing deciding to come, but he came to this island to get this pill for his uncle. So, just in case that was unclear to anyone, I'm saying it now. And I'm going to show you the picture really quickly. Oh, wait. Actually, there's no point in me trying to show you the picture since the video quality decided it wants to be bad. So never mind. Let's see. Anne says another question to be considered and not answered. Yeah, about what he remembers. We'll see. I guess I'll keep reading since I can't show you guys the picture. Muzhong Chuyi lifted his chin slightly in Zhongzhong's direction. Why didn't you ask her for the truth? Zhongzhong had been quietly listening in, but as soon as they turned their eyes on her, she lowered her head in fright and resumed her meal. Of course I asked her, but Zhongzhong has been locked in the pill refining room for years being used for medicine. She doesn't know much about what happens outside, so I couldn't get any concrete answers. But my guesses are usually correct. Then you have other guesses? Muzhong Chuyi asked coolly. Why not just share them all while we're at it? Gumang rubbed his palms together and smiled. I do, actually. I also suspect the reason Wu Yan wanted to keep the little cultivator as her plaything might not be because she'd lived on the island for too long and has never seen a man. Perhaps it was because she had seen a certain man before and had never forgotten him. A slight crease appeared between Muzhong Chuyi's sword like brows. What makes you say that? Gu Mong looked at the feverish Yue Chengqing, the goo worm. After a pause, he continued. The goo worm in Yue Chengqing's body can change someone's voice and appearance, as well as their memories and personality. If Wu Yan merely wanted to snatch a man to keep as her plaything, why on earth would she go to so much trouble? That makes sense. Muzhong Chuyi pondered this and then said, makes sense. Keep talking. The Shanghao said before that young Yuegongza had violated some taboo. Most likely that men are not allowed on this island. Young Yuegongza rashly landed here and was captured by Wu Yan, just like that cultivator from hundreds of years ago, who was nurtured and transformed into the man Wu Yi actually wants to possess. Of course, Gumong added, perhaps there are other reasons we aren't aware of, but I can't think of a better explanation than this. Muzhong Chuyi looked at Gumong thoughtfully. In the past, he and Gumong had almost never interacted. He only knew that, for a time, Minnie and Chonghua believed they had nothing to fear so long as General Gu stood on the front lines, even if the sky were to fall. But he and Gumong rarely crossed paths. Muzhong Chuyi couldn't recall ever having spoken to him directly. Thus, he had never understood why people had that sort of superstition about a general. But as he listened to this sound analysis and observed Gu Mang's thorough and methodical reasoning, Muzhong Chuyi couldn't help but scrutinize his face in earnest. Slowly, he realized that Gu Mang did have a powerful charisma. When Gu Mang was taking things seriously, when his blue eyes were flashing with light, the vigor in his features was deeply compelling. So that's what I think, Gu Mang said, concluding his tale. In any case, the Firebat tribe and the Feathered tribe share a common origin. Jiangxiong, Muzhongxiong. You guys don't need to worry too much. I'm sure that Miss Rongzhong will find a way to dispel the poison Wu Yan used. Gumong exuded an aura of competence. Perhaps this was why, whenever he said there was nothing to worry about, it seemed to act as a soothing balm. A few words were all it took for them to believe that he had everything under control. After a long moment of silence, Muzhong Chuyi replied, all right. Reality proved Gumong correct. As Rongzhong ate more and more flames, the red marking between her eyebrows became darker and darker. In the end, she let out a little hiccup of flickering sparks and covered her face in embarrassment. "Uh, I'm done resting. I can help now." Many thanks, said Jiang Geshui. Please don't thank me, Zhongzhong said anxiously. If Gumanguge hadn't rescued me from that pill refining room, I would have been Wu Yan's prisoner for a lifetime. As she spoke, she unfolded herself from the ground and approached Yue Chengqing. This little Guge who's been poisoned with goo, would it be all right if I touch his face? Go ahead, Muzhong Chuyi answered. Zhongzhong performed a crooked obeisance at him and clumsily replied, Then I ask the beauty to please pardon my offense. Seeing Muzhong Chuyi's expression, Gumang couldn't hold back a laugh. She's been locked up since she was young. Her only exposure to the outside world, were a few bat demons and random books tossed in the refining pill room to entertain her. She talks a little strangely. Try to get used to it. I didn't think she talked that strangely, but okay. Zhongzhong pursed her delicate scarlet lips. Realizing she'd said something wrong, her face flushed a rosy pink, and she spoke no more. Head drooping, she reached out and carefully placed a fuzzy little claw over Yue Chengqing's forehead. After a while, she asked, may I touch his neck? You may, said Muzhong Chui. Zhongzhong touched the side of Yue Chengqing's neck. After inspecting it for a while, she asked, May I also touch his chest? Muzhong Chuyi preferred doing things simply and quickly, so he soon grew impatient with all her requests. You may touch him wherever you like as long as you cure him. Having received consent, Zhongzhong examined Yue Chengqing's chest, arms, and ankles. Oh, comments are in. I just looked up from the book, and the video quality looks like it's figured itself out. Oh, yay! Goody! I didn't even realize. Whatever, I guess it was struggling with some things. Indeed, only noticed two just now. Oh, so you guys are reading along. That's so awesome. Because when people are listening, I mean, I know some people are reading as they're listening, but I never know who's like who's got their book in front of them and who I'm just supplying the words to. So, really cool, you guys. Okay, let's get back to the reading. I think we have 2 pages of this chapter left. How is he? He can be cured, but there's not much time, and I need to use a relative's blood for the antidote. She glanced hesitantly at Muzhong Chuyi. Isn't this Shenjun his uncle? Is Shenjun willing to give yourself over to... She shivered at the sight of Muzhong Chuyi's dark expression. Is is that how the phrase "give yourself over to" is used? She stammered. No, no, ma'am. Give yourself over to is not something he should be doing with Yue Changqing. Anyway, Muzhong Chuyi pressed his colorless lips into a thin line, the glint in his eyes turning stormy. Besides, I'm not his real uncle. You adopted him? Asked Zhongzhong. Muzhong Chuyi's features were chilly. I was the one who was adopted. Zhongzhong was rendered speechless before this awe-inspiring cultivator. At this moment, Yang Yeshui spoke up from nearby. Miss Rong, does it have to be the blood of a relative? Mm, it's best that way. Otherwise, it'll be very dangerous. Then you can use mine, said Jiang Yeshui. Zhongzhong stared at him, taken aback. "I- You're... I'm his elder brother from the same father, but a different mother. Jiang Yeshui smiled bitterly. Unfortunately, we don't have exactly the same parents. Will my blood suffice? Zhongzhong had noticed the way these men had spoken earlier. She saw that Muzhong Chuyi always acted as Yue Chengqing's guardian while pushing Jiang Yeshui aside so he couldn't get a word in edgewise. She had assumed Muzhong Chuyi was close to Yue Chengqing, and Jiang Yeshui was the outsider. She hadn't expected that Jiang Yeshui was Yue Chengqing's blood family, while Muzhong Chuyi had no blood relation with him to speak of. Naturally, she didn't understand the difference between the Di and Shu sons, nor the twists and turns of harem infighting. The inexplicable ways of these humans made her head spin. Okay, footnote number 12 for anyone who's not looking at the book. Di and Shu sons. The Di son is born of the first or the official wife. The D sons are direct heirs in matters of inheritance, and the Shu sons are going to be born of like the other wives and concubines, and they're ranked second, if at all. Returning to the reading. It wasn't until Jiang Yeshui warmly spoke up for the third time, will my blood suffice? That Zhongzhong snapped out of it. She nodded repeatedly. It will. It will. It would take time and effort to draw the goo out of Yue Chengqing, and the process was perilous and could not be disrupted. Jiang Yeshui was wary. Wu Yi has had her prisoner stolen, her prize tower destroyed, and now we've taken Miss Rongzhong too. She'll no doubt be furious. I set down invisibility barriers around the cave, but if she can't find us with magic, I'm worried her next step will be to send her people to comb the island and search for us. Can we find a more secure hiding place? Zhongzhong shook her head. She pointed at Yue Chengqing as she shyly turned down this request. This little gaga cannot be moved right now. He's had the goo worm in him for a few days already. If we delay, I don't know if I can destroy the worm. We can't afford to wait. As Jiang Yeshui hesitated, Mo Xi, who had been listening silently at the mouth of the cave, turned around. You all stay here and guard Yue Chengqing while the goo is drawn out, he said. I'll deal with Wu Yan myself. Okay. That's the end of that chapter. Chapter 97. Do you hate me? There's definitely more C that's asking this question. That's what I think, because Gumaga's been so mean to him. So, and he's wanting to repair the relationship. It's got to be him asking. Morsi didn't have to spell it out. The others weren't stupid. They understood at once that he planned to find some far off spot and expose his whereabouts, using himself as bait to divert Wu Yan. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous, Jiang Yeshui protested. If I can't even handle a flock of bats, Morsi said, adjusting the hidden weapon compartment on his wrist. How could I hold my head up as the commander of the Northern Frontier Army? Jiang Yeshui knew Morsi had always been stubborn. Seeing that he wouldn't be persuaded, he looked toward Gumong. Gumong's face was a patchwork of shadow in the flickering light of the fire. It wasn't clear whether he would bestir himself for this, but after a long moment, he finally spoke. What's Shi Hejun thinking, running off to meet that crowd of bats alone? Are you in such a rush to become a trophy husband for the Bat Queen? At these words, Morsi looked at Gumong and then turned away. I'm ill tempered and vicious, he said softly. All I do is order people and beat and kill. All I do is order people to beat and kill. No one would take a liking to me. Way to throw those words back. Gumong stared at him. They were the very words Gumong had just bullied Morsi with. He hadn't expected Morsi to commit them to memory and turn them back on him. No matter how thick-skinned Gumong was, he still felt abashed at that moment. Good. You should. Morsi fastened the buckles of his hidden weapon compartment. I'm leaving, he said over his shoulder. Hey, wait up! Turning halfway, Morsi paused. What is it? Gumong rubbed his nose. Humans wouldn't take a liking to you, but demons might. Morsi's face was stony. I heard the demons only look at at human skins. Your personality is a bit of a bore, but your face is pretty. I'll admit, you've got that innocent allure. You're absolutely perfect as long as you don't open your mouth. If that old bat doesn't take a liking to you, she must be blind. Maybe she should go to Jiang Fuli's manor to get her eyes checked. With a sweep of his sleeves and a stunned pallor in his cheeks, Morsi turned on his heels and strode off. Gumong gazed at Morsi's retreating back and sighed. You know, I didn't notice while my memories were gone, but now that they've returned, I can see his attitude really hasn't improved in all the years I was out of the country. No, it's gotten worse. Now he can't even take a joke. And why do you think that is, Gumong? At this, Morsi finally couldn't bear it anymore and whirled around. He looked as though he was about to fly into a rage, but he forced his anger down and only said with red-rimmed eyes, Gumong, did you just discover my terrible temper today? Morsi stalked away without another word, striding into the distance between the swaying moonlight. As he was about to vanish out of sight, Gumong turned to the others. Why don't I go with him? Youngsters can't be trusted to do things properly. I'll keep an eye on him, and we'll lead Wu Yan away together. Go quickly, replied Jiang Yeshui. There's safety in numbers. Gumong grimaced. I'm just afraid that he'll be angry if I tag along. Didn't you see his face when I left? Nevertheless, he still quickly followed after Morsi. Morsi's steel-toed boots, military boots, crunched over dried branches and withered leaves. After walking alone for a while, he heard the rustle of footsteps behind him. Shi Hejun. The sound of that voice made Morsi's heart ache unbearably. Instead of turning around, he quickened his pace. Gumong caught up with him. What are you walking so fast for? As if Gumong hadn't spoken, Morsi kept his head down and strode on. I'm asking you a question. Are you so mad you're ignoring me? It was some time before Morsi finally spoke up. Why are you insisting on coming with me? How long have you been in the army? You fought too many battles not to understand the concept of strategic deployment of troops. Why else would I follow you? Gumong pulled a blade of foxtail grass and began fiddling with it. He smacked the wildflowers growing by the side of the path as he continued. We can't let anyone interfere with Jiang Yeshui and the others while they're dealing with the goo in the cave. The more of us on the outside attracting Queen Wu Yan's attention, the better. To provide for all possible contingencies, there must be someone on guard in the cave. But Mu Zhongchuyi is clearly the better choice to stay behind. He's Yue Chengqing and Jiang Yeshui's uncle, so he's more suited to be their last line of defense. After laying out his logic, he smiled at Morsi. So why are you behaving so recklessly? Just because you don't want to see me? Morsi said nothing. The two of them strode over dead foliage, walking into the distance step by step. They hadn't yet removed the spells that concealed their spiritual energy, so they had no cause for worry, even when they began to see bat demons here and there patrolling through the trees. For a while, they walked shoulder to shoulder like this, until Mochi suddenly said, Gumang, mm-hmm, there's no one else here. So can you tell me the truth? Hmm? Do you really hate me? A pause. Why are you asking this out of the blue? When I didn't want you to accompany me, it wasn't because I didn't want to see you, Moshi replied. It's because I feel that you despise me, and I don't know how to face you. Oh, Gumang was silent. Their surroundings were very quiet, filled only with cold moonlight and the rustle of leaves. Even the twitter of birdsong seemed remote. Moshi hesitated. Have you really resented me all along? Why would I resent you? Under the light breeze and pale moon, Gumang's white clothes fluttered, billowing like waves. He tucked away the careless and cavalier mask he'd worn in front of Jiang Gestre and the others, revealing a face that, having experienced too much death, seemed apathetic and unnaturally pale. Would I resent you for not being able to stay with me back when I fell into trouble? Or for thinking that I was drunk and making a scene when I most needed someone to pull me back? Morsi failed to respond. Didn't I mention those things in the last live? Morsi failed to respond. Gumang chuckled softly. In the time mirror, you asked me pretty much the same thing. Whether it was 8 years in the past or 8 years in the future, my answer is still the same. He raised those long lashes like willow catskins, as if a gauze veil had been lifted. Bright moonlight poured into his azure eyes. Gumang gazed at Moshi with those irrevocably blue eyes and said, Moshi, I've never hated you for this. Moshi suddenly stopped in his tracks and lowered his gaze to Gumang's face. Ever since he and Gumang had reunited, he had nigh always been powerful and decisive in front of Gumang. But at this moment, facing Gumang with his memories intact, what did Moshi have left? Gumang had watched him grow up. Gumang had seen all his suffering, misery, and struggle, had forgiven all of his recklessness and immaturity. In front of Gumang, without his mind, Morsi might have been his lord, his companion, or Shihajun. But in front of his Gumangaga, Morsi was just Morsi. His armor and blades were stripped away, leaving behind a scarred and bloody heart full of sincerity. Morsi's voice shook as he asked quietly, If you don't hate me, why do you have to treat me like this? Does there have to be a reason? It's no different from how you treated me, Gumang said. These are the choices we made, just as you chose Chonghua and I chose the Liao Kingdom. The Time Mirror's release incantation says it best. Cross soar the abyss of suffering, chase no more the past. The past is the past, so there's no point dwelling on it. I've already let go of our rotten history. You're the one who insists on clinging to it. What else can I do but be ruthless with you? Gumang's words felt like a scalding pipe pressed to the flesh of his chest. Moshi's heart strained to breaking. You've let it all go? Ages ago. That's quite hurtful. I'm not even gonna lie. Also, if y'all hear noise, that's the rain, the thunder. But okay, so you're just saying that all those years of building a friendship and then eventually, a romance that y'all had together, you just let it all go just like that. Gumong. Gumong. Come on, my guy. I'm starting not to be Team Gumong. I'm still Team Gumong. Kali says, oh, but they still need to have a long chat with a therapist. I know a very good therapist. They can go to mine. I'm sure she'd be very, very helpful. So we'll see. Mosi closed his eyes, his long lashes fluttering. Gumang. Swallowing hard, he sighed. It's been 17 years. Gumang was taken aback. What? From the time you helped me complete my first assignment at the academy, I've known you for 17 years. From my youth to my coming of age, from the classroom to the battlefield. You said you'd always stay with me. You said you'd always be at my side, for richer or poor. You once said you once said you loved me. But how could Morsi speak those words now? They stuck in his throat, choking him with their bloodied sweetness. He closed his eyes, forcing down the quaver in his voice. He heaved a sigh, but his voice still shook as he spoke. Once upon a time, you taught me many things. You taught me to endure in silence. You taught me magic. You taught me the ways of the world. And you taught me the meaning of romance. Now, you want me to stop clinging to you. Okay, I'll do my best, he said. But before that, Gushishong, I ask you to teach me one last thing. It's been 17 years, half our lives so far. Teach me how to let go. Gumang said nothing. Morsi's eyes flew open as he jabbed at his own heart. Can you teach me how to feel at ease? His fingertips trembled faintly and his eyes were red. How do I lose two souls? Can mine be missing instead? I still have my memory and my mind. I can't let go. I knew I couldn't change a thing upon traveling 8 years into the past, but I still wanted to ask you not to defect. I still hoped for you to stay, even if you think it's all useless. Morsi, what cross o'er the abyss of suffering, chase no more the past. I've lived in the past for 8 years. Since the day you left, I've lived 8 years in the past. I wish so badly for you to recover your memories, but now that you've recovered them, you tell me you've let go. Gumang, Gushishong, in those 17 years, what was I in your heart? As he choked out those last words, his voice went hoarse and broke off. They stuck in his throat, becoming sobs. He felt tears swimming in his eyes, but to let them fall would be too shameful. The rare times he cried had almost always been in front of Gumang. It could be excused when he was young, but how could he bear to appear so utterly defeated in front of the same person after all these years? He turned abruptly away, striding forward on rapid steps. The white birch forest rustled as the night fog wove around the trees. Morsi walked through this hazy and indistinct mist. After a while, he heard Gumang catch up. Gumang's footsteps always followed close behind him. It had been like this, too, many years ago, when they had raided enemy camps and chased deer in the countryside. No matter where they went, as long as Gumang was present, he would always be just a sidelong glance away. It had been the first time in his life to bring him peace. Then Gumang defected and left. When Morsi marched and fought on his own, he never again found this kind of tacit understanding with his comrades. When he galloped ahead too quickly, leaving all the others behind, he couldn't hear the voices of those accompanying him, as if all that existed between the heavens and the earth was him astride his horse, galloping toward a glorious, solitary end. Dissatisfied, he commanded his soldiers to follow no more than a single step behind. But even when the sounds of footsteps and hoofbeats returned, the faces were no longer the ones he remembered. From then on, Morsi understood that, although the death of an old friend was agonizing, it could not compare to the pain of an old friend irrevocably changed. When he thought how this person yet remained on this earth but could never return to the past, of how their deep emotion had decayed, how their shared path had split into two unlike roads, how his beloved had become his enemy, that was a suffering that brought agony with each breath. Useless. Up ahead came an angry scream, dragging Moshi's thoughts out of their morass. I should have said that in a different voice then, but I don't know whose voice it is. All of you, useless. Moshi stopped short. Gumang had heard it too, and swiftly drew even with Moshi, peering through the dense fog. Is that Wu Yan? Their relationship was complicated and the atmosphere awkward, but they knew their priorities. They exchanged a wordless glance, then slowed their spiritual energy circulation and breathed to noisily approach the source of the voice. They followed the sound to a tree so giant that three men linking arms would have barely girded its circumference. When they silently looked around it, the sight that greeted them astonished them both. That's the end. That's the end. So I guess technically we got our questions answered, right? Um, okay. Dang. I feel so bad for Morsi. I've always felt bad for both of them, but more so for Gumong. But in this moment, I am feeling the feels for real for Morsi because Gumong is being really cruel to him, and I need to know why. Like, I really, really need to know why. Because given how it said that Gumong was in the past, which don't get me wrong, people can change, but given the kind of person he was in the past, and even still showing himself to be, just not toward Gumong, I mean Morsi, I'm like, why? Why is he being like this toward Morsi? Like, I need answers. I need answers on Gumong's behavior because how am I gonna stay Wolfgaga on Wolfgaga's team if Wolfgaga is being like if he's being difficult, you know? So Connie says a cliffhanger. No, and says it was too painful just then. Yeah. Cliffhangers are not nice. You were right, Anne. They are not nice. And I'm mad that we have one. And I'm not in my room, so I don't even have the books with me. But let me see um, if I can pull up the summary for Remnants of Filth, Volume 4. I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, it was just two short chapters. So, we got the answer as far as why they're even on the island in the first place, why Yue Changqing went to the island. And it's because he wanted to save his uncle. And it's kind of one of those things. It's like, see, you should have just been honest with him in the first place instead of trying to hide things, because then he felt the need to hide what he was doing. I mean, he left a note, but he hid what he was doing and then he left and got himself into danger. But if he would have known, perhaps he could have shared his knowledge. Perhaps several people could have went to this island. Perhaps he wouldn't have been inserted with a goo worm. I worded that really weirdly. Perhaps a goo worm would not have been inserted into him. Let's go with that. Yeah. So we've been left off now where Morsi and Gumong are on their own, and Gumong's being an asshole, and then they hear a voice. And it's saying, he asked, was it the Wu Yan Bat Queen? But we didn't get an answer. So I guess, much like going from volume 1 into 2 with Li Qingqian, we're going into volume 3. I'm going from volume 3 into volume 4 with this Bat Queen Wu Yan, figure out what her story is, and then move on from this arc. This this painful arc. So, yes, we have gone from this freaking book. Stacy says, I feel like Gumong is trying to protect Morsi from something, but still being a jerk. But I'll accept it. Team Gumong. That is very possible. That he's just trying to protect him. I'm also wondering if there's really a part of him that's still trying to protect himself. Because obviously, with him retaining his memories, of course, and even when he was just Wolfgaga, he still has these memories of the way people treated him and the way people viewed him. And if we, remember, even with Morsi expressing his love and everything, he never believed him. And so, of course, he has his memories back. So does he still not believe in Morsi? Does he still not believe he's worthy of that love? And so is he doing this? Is he acting this way to protect himself from heartbreak again? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I need answers because Gumong, you're being mean. You're being a big fat meanie, and I don't like it at all. You said, I feel like, oh, sorry. Next statement from Anne. He might have low self-esteem right now. Confidence to his own self. Absolutely. I think he still has low self esteem, and there's pretty much nothing that can be done about that at the moment. I mean, he feigns confidence and stuff, but the man ain't got it. And it's like, he went from being Wolfgaga, not really having memories, but getting some here and there, and knowing people were upset with him for some reason because he was a traitor, but he didn't know what he did. Then hopping into the time mirror, and then boom, like all of that just coming back to him. Like I said in the chapters before, he felt like he had went from basically not remembering much, and then going into the mirror, experiencing carrying Lu Jianxing on his back, and then being thrust back into this world. So it's like, it's just a lot. Yes, cover four is really pretty, right? Really, really pretty. So that is what the cover looks like. I'm going to read the summary for you guys. It says, I guess, read the summary for volume 4. Gumang has emerged from the time mirror a changed man. Boy, don't we know it. With his shattered memories recovered, he sets out to distance himself once more from his erstwhile lover, Morsi. In turn, Morsi finds himself powerless against a Gumang who is both familiar and yet so cruel. Regardless, if the two hope to complete their mission and return to Chonghua, they must work hand in hand to escape the demon infested island. Meanwhile, Morsi's own experience in the time mirror has left him more certain than ever that some secrets still linger behind Gumang's treasonous defection 8 years ago. He's determined to dig up the truth at any cost, even the cost of his own life. Well, let's let's calm down. Let's not do that, okay? Anyway, so yeah, I'm hoping a huge chunk of book 4 is not them being on this bat island. I want that to get solved at least in the first fourth of it. Maybe the third. It depends on how big the next book is. I don't know how many pages there are. But anyway, Kylie says cover 4 is so pretty, but it looks to have both past and present Gumong. Oh, I do see him in there. He's in there. Oh, the little tiny one. I don't know if y'all hold on, let me I guess share that again so y'all can right there. Wolf goes right there. And then we have him here. This definitely has to be Moshi. Would that be Moshi? Because there's the wound over the heart where he got stabbed, I'm assuming. And then this has to be Gumong. More Gumong. And this shattered glass or ball or whatever it is. Who knows? Anyway, yes, this cover is absolutely beautiful. That's pretty much it for this book. I don't really have anything else to say about it except, wow, what a cliffhanger. Thanks a lot. But at least we didn't end with something extremely tragic and like, oh my gosh, I need to know what happens now. Like, I do still need to know what happens, but I feel okay with how this book ended, with how this volume ended. So we're okay. Now we just need to know how they're going to get off this bad island and what exactly is going to occur between Gumong and Morsi while they're going against Wu Yan. Because I'm going to assume that she's a formidable Bat Queen. Slay Queen. But anyway, we'll see. So, because I read so much today, probably won't be recording anything today. Anyway, that's all. We are trucking along through this book. We ended it a lot faster than I expected because didn't we start it on the 31st? That's a week of reading one book and we finished it. So we're ahead of schedule. So you all enjoy the rest of your day. For those of you, I know you said it was early night for you. Have a good night, a good rest, and I will see you guys for sure live on the 20th. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in my videos or my video audios, stuff like that. Stacy, I enjoyed today. Thanks everyone. Yes, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for all of your well wishes and everything. It's always fun to be here. And says thank you too. It was great. Yes, thank you all and you're welcome. I hope you continue to enjoy your weekend. And because it says thank you for the reading. We all enjoyed it. Yay! I'm excited to get into book 4. It's gonna be good. And this where I did read a little bit of book 4 before it was officially published, but somewhere in book 4 is where I stopped because the translations were just blah. So we're getting closer to me not having read certain things. Period. Which I look forward to. Even though rereading this again, honestly, there was a lot of stuff that I had forgotten anyway. So yeah, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.